Hi, Elina, and welcome to the live stream. Today, we are going to talk about the freelance business community. I'm so delighted to have you here, and I know that you've been very busy this week hosting the very successful freelance business for creatives. You founded this concept in 2018, and since last year, it's growing from strengths to strengths. I think you don't need an introduction because our mutual connections know you very well. And if someone wants to know your career path, they are more than welcome to connect with you on LinkedIn because we are live streaming this on LinkedIn and on YouTube. So let's talk about the freelance business for creatives because we have also a lot of creatives in the events industry watching this live stream today. So I know the titles of your sessions were super catchy, very relevant, looking at trends, topics like finance, strategy. So in the first part of this live, can you please tell me about the highlights, your inspiration? What are the trends happening right now in the creative community?
Oh, thanks a lot. Well, first of all, thanks for inviting me. It's a big pleasure to be here and have the opportunity to share. And yeah, like you mentioned, we started in 2018. The concept actually developed throughout the years. And right now we're focusing on different segments of freelancers. And every time we launch an event, we learn enormously a lot. We think all freelancers are equal, but that is not so true. Even if we take creatives, which event industry belongs to, right? Whether you're creative or marketing person, depending how you position yourself, there is still a big deal of creativity. And what I learned personally, because I always apply everything I hear from our speakers to myself, my own business, the way I behave and act as a business person or as a freelance person, if you wish. There are some interesting insights that actually came also from industry people we know. We had Klaus Rasted, which is the director of College of Extraordinary Experiences. It's an event for creatives to attend. And something that that's something that stayed with me from his talk is very short, fail fast. Of course, he had lots of information and insights to share, but something that really resonates with me, fail fast means do things fast, realize, okay, it doesn't work, change your shoes, go to different directions. So don't get stuck in something that doesn't work for you. Be flexible, especially nowadays, it's so important. Try different things and experiment. And we had another creative who was talking exactly about that, because as creative, especially if you're an artist, you tend to think, okay, I'm talented in paintings or photography and that's it. But that's not true. We have so many talents that we just have to try. And that also applies to event professionals. If you didn't find yourself in a specific industry sector, move on, try something else, never stop. Really fail fast, get up and continue. So that's one of the biggest insight for me. It's like aha moment. And another slightly different perspective, but also on the same side, was from Emily, who is also our industry representative. She's a live event producer at Scriberia. She said something like, think of what should we leave out, right? And again, it's to the same point that we get too stuck in certain places, but maybe we have to leave out. And sometimes it can be very a strong message. Maybe we have to leave out certain people. You never know. Maybe we have to leave out certain projects, certain mindsets, certain dogmas. It's actually made me stop for a second and think, and actually I'm going to stop for a long time to think what I'm going to leave out from my life, from my business environment to succeed. I think that's very strong. In terms of trends, I wouldn't even say it's a trend. It's been there for a while, but now it comes much more stronger, is your network is your power. And not only in the sense that you get business from your network, you get recommendations, but also that you can grow as a freelance professional. You're not solo anymore. And that is the main message. You're not solo anymore in a sense that if you approach a customer, you're now in a position to actually offer more than that you can do as a single professional. So if you create a team around yourself, and this is how collectives become to be formed, or agencies, even if you wish, it's just much more easier nowadays to create the superpower that can service the client, right? If you're event professional and you've been specializing on some specific niche or specific task of event project management, get to know others who are doing similar but complementary services, and build a team around around yourself to service your customers. So this is one way. Another way, and that probably longer, is that you would upskill yourself. But obviously that takes time. It's, much longer process, maybe more money involved for your education and stuff. And also gaining experience in doing that jobs is taking longer than rather just creating a network around yourself. And evergreen things such as sales. I would say almost 70% of freelancers are afraid of sales. That's what I hear from lots of people I talk with. But technically, that's the only thing we have to do, right? Because we already have our professional skills that we do on a daily basis. We are absolutely excellent in that. Otherwise, we wouldn't start our own business. But what suffers most of the time is our sales skills. And if sales as a word scares you, like me, I hate sales, think about building relationship. Because that's kind of different approach here, right? It's not called selling. It's just trying to understand others, trying to connect with them and see how you can be helpful. And talking about sales, know your value. It's actually rather painful to see freelancers who undercharge themselves, and I see it daily, almost on every discussion that if I have a chance to talk about pricing. I'm not a specialist in pricing at all. We had specific people to talk about that, but undervaluing is actually hurting you so much. Right now, just without doing anything, you can raise your prices 15%, and maybe someone there has even raised 50%, who knows? And you're not gonna lose the customers who see value in you, right? If you lose the customers who doesn't see value in you, then whatever, go with it, fail fast and try again.
Yeah, I think I saw the quote on Twitter you shared: you can't lose a customer that you don't have, so don't undercharge. It's a very good insight.
And I personally go through that process all the time. If I do have my price tag, to be honest, and if it's not, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'm sorry, it's just not gonna continue. So that my biggest advice.
Yeah, pricing is a huge topic. I think we can just do a separate live on this, because also we talked about it last year during the digital festival, and you actually held a session about pricing. And in the virtual event landscape, there are many different pricing strategies, and it's such an important topic. Definitely, we need to come back to this.
Absolutely.
So these are very good insights. I loved following the conversation on social media. I attended one session by Robert Dunsmore, also a creative from our industry, and one quote that stayed with me was, it's not a new normal, it's a new economy, and it's digital first. So it was a very good event. I definitely want to rewatch the sessions, because you all have them now available on demand, right?
Almost, yeah. That is something that takes time. And I guess it's a little bit of a downside of our structure right now, because we're getting a bit spoiled, right? We want to have content replay immediately. We take time to make it a little bit pretty, so that's why it takes a bit longer. So by the end of this week, we'll have all the talks uploaded on the platform.
Yeah. Okay, so this is very good. And this brings us to the next topic of engagement. So engagement comes in many forms, and I personally attended your event last year, the Freelance Business Month, which is also coming up this October, and you can tell us later about it. But I attended last year the Freelance Business Month, and I'm already part of the community and on the platform, which you use Swapcard. And I attended one session this time, because I also have a very busy schedule, but I definitely followed your conversation on social media, which was very insightful. I liked how you post the quotes, which I love to reshare. And now we are having this conversation, and you told me already the summary of this event. So I feel fully engaged with your event. But I think, in my opinion, for the average event organizer, my level of engagement will be considered very low, because I attended only one session and I didn't network. I didn't network at all. I know you, I know the couple of speakers, but that here ends my engagement. So in the past, I listened to a different interview you had with Miguel Neves for cooking up virtual events. And I believe this interview is also available on Miguel's YouTube channel. And you said that you don't believe in engagement, event engagement in the way we see it, let's say, the event organizers see it. Because we always talk about gamification, about having like power sessions between the talks, having a yoga, some cooking classes, Q&A, polls, wellness sessions. So can you tell me about your approach to engagement?
Yeah. Oh, wow. It's such a topic. I love it. Well, I think, first of all, there is a big misconception about engagement as such, right? Somehow we have defined engagement from organizers' point of view that it has to look like this. And I find it very egoistic that we don't even think of how attendees like to engage. And I think engagement comes initially from the event design in general. I'm not going to go too deep into event design, but just asking yourself, what do I want to accomplish with my event, right? What are the goals of my event, and what do I want to see at the end? And just to demonstrate it on a different examples of the event, let's take two extreme scenarios. Let's take a concert, right? It's an event. Let's say Madonna's concert. She's performing. I don't know, 50,000 people attend the event. They dance, they sing with Madonna, they admire her, they just mega enthusiastic. They bought some goodies maybe at the concert hall. They went home and they're like, oh God, that was so engaging. That was absolutely awesome. I've been entertained 500%. Nobody asked them to do a poll. Nobody asked them to answer questions. Nobody asked them to get into groups to, there might be someone who jumped like crazy on the dance floor and some other people who would be just standing quietly and watching. And they would be absolutely satisfied with the event and they would see great value out of it. So that is one. Then we take another concert, which was someone unknown, let's say, bad quality music, bad acoustics, no drinks available. And folks like, yeah, okay, it's good. But they did not enjoy it. So in that case, engagement equals entertainment. So if you build your event around entertainment side, you may want to create different engagement. And at the end of the day, you would be measuring differently. Then if we take another example, absolutely kind of the opposite, you're creating a small, tiny private workshop for 10 people, let's say. And from the design point of view, you would want those 10 people to talk to each other, to exchange, to share opinions, to participate in some practical exercises. So you will be designing your event, your workshop, with that in mind. And so the content that you will deliver also will be delivered, and it's getting dark, in a certain way, which would prompt people to exchange and to interact in a different way, right? So that's how I always tell, on interviews, whenever I'm asked, is that don't take engagement so seriously that you just go crazy, that nobody asks a question at the session. Maybe because that is the way you plan your session, and that's it. And then another point is that engagement doesn't start at the event. Okay, maybe for the concert, not even for the concert, because everyone would know Madonna, they would be already engaged with her a long time ago, right, as a fan. So if you're not engaging with your community before the event, and all of a sudden decide, you know what, I'm going to do event and it's going to be mega engaged and everyone's going to be happy, most likely you're going to fail, because you have not talked to your customers before, you haven't talked to your members before, you haven't even asked your community members to provide suggestions or something. Like, you did not engage them, you did not activate them before the event. You cannot expect them to be mega active during. And that is what we also see with freelance business, is that the more events we produce, we see more people actually more active into conversation. There are still a lot of people who prefer not to, and that is another factor that to take into account, because there is still diversity, there is still different ways how people interact, different personalities, and some people like to have a conversation, some people prefer just to listen and digest information, and that is how they get engaged.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so there is the beauty of running your own event is that you really can experiment and try different forms, and if it doesn't work, like, nobody's gonna punch you. So we did different scenarios at different events to see how it works. And with creatives, we said, okay, let's do a very short introduction at the start of the session, let's say, so that people can talk to each other, because we keep saying you have to network, you have to get to know people, you have to grow your so we did, and that scared people. So some people just disconnected because, like, no, I don't want to have this group discussion, because because I'm either don't speak English very well, or I don't have a microphone, it doesn't work, technology obstacles, or I just don't feel like I don't look good, I don't want to put my camera, I just, there are many things that can prevent you, to
from
connect.
engaging. Yeah, you know what? I just want to add to this. I completely agree with you, because you said we see the returning attendees, and this is so important, especially events that have a community. And then you put an event for 3 days, and what happens if I'm on holiday? So obviously I'm not able to engage with this event. But if you have recurring events, if you have a place where attendees can exchange, a platform where they can network and they can check the news, the blog articles, you have a social media feed that gives updates about the event, they can definitely engage more. And I can share from my experience with the Event Planner Stock Twitter chat, which I host already since 2014, every week on a Monday. And people know already that it's on a Monday. It's every time on the same day, every time on the same month, time, day. And they know that they can just come without signing up. It's not necessary to sign up. They can just drop in, read, engage. Maybe the topic is not relevant. Maybe the topic is relevant. They can see who else is engaging, to network with them, to follow them. And I see that way a lot of relationships form, and that builds a community. So definitely have a platform where people can come and engage, and maybe also not just rely on this one event, because virtual now actually gives us the opportunity to have more and more often. And that's community building, which a topic will come to in the next questions. But before, let's talk about virtual events. What are your learnings from the freelance business virtual events so far? Because you've had this year, you had already 3, I believe. You have the 4th coming up, which is an innovative concept. It's a 1 month long event. And then you will have one more. And tell me everything about you've learned in the past 3 years about virtual events.
Yeah, well, the massive amount of learnings, obviously, right? Every day something new, every event that's coming up, and then, actually, we could do this differently. But main takeaways for me is that content has to be aligned with the audience. This is like, rule number 1. We all know it, but not always it works really well. And what I mean by that is that by all these different events that we have planned, I can tell for sure where we nailed the content 100%, like it really resonated with the audience, versus other time when it was like good, but just not perfect enough, and this comes from understanding the subject yourself, because as a producer, if I'm launching a subject where I'm active myself, I can really put like hot stuff in there, great speakers. If there is a topic which is not very close to me, like we had several, it was a bit of a struggle. You obviously talk to people, you interview them, you're trying to get insights, you do research, but still it's you may miss on certain things. So some programs sounded like very general, and that I could feel from the attendance and also from the feedback. The learning, another one is that know which data you want to collect. because sometimes we collect too much data and it's just not necessary. At some point, we realized that actually we have not collected that piece of data, and that was mega important for, let's say, talking to partners or talking to, I don't know, potential sponsors. So we had to kind of reverse the process and start doing that. So we lost a little bit of time on that. So definitely think of what your potential sponsors or partners require. They actually require now more data than before, especially those who are more into digital marketing and understand how it works. So yeah, that's something that we have improved. What we have also improved is that people like to brag about themselves, especially speakers, if they're attending. So give them materials as early as possible so they can post for you, they can share for you. Don't wait till last minute. For some events, we actually skipped the process because it was too busy. But once we start doing that, we see more and more actually outsiders coming to our networks because, yeah, obviously you enrich the audience via your speakers and partners. Yeah. And sometimes partnerships can be also in kind, just promotional partnerships. They help a lot as well. So that's
very good learnings. And what's in your opinion, what's the right time to start promoting a virtual event? When it's enough time to get the attendees, the engagement, the awareness?
Well, we start typically, we have 3-month period, plus minus. Sometimes it gets shorter, sometimes it's a bit longer, but 3 months is a good good stretch, considering that we start with launching call for presentations, and that is how we launch the event. And then once we get submissions, and we announce the program and start announcing speakers. So the speaker announcement comes plus minus a month before the event, and that is how you see more and more registrations are coming. As a matter of fact, we open registrations as soon as we launch the events. So if someone already have trust in us and they can submit the registration without knowing who is coming to speak, that's already a good sign.
So you mentioned the topic of trust, which you, me, and Heidi, we had a session about it at ITB Berlin, and I have a blog post about it. So I will link then the blog post in the comments. So if anyone wants to learn about building trust online, it's also a great topic. Let's go back to the community engagement, because we have a great comment from Heidi Legain, whose event is coming up next Friday, the Digital Disruptor. As you know, I'm a big fan of community building, and I'm definitely in team push engagement, but it's absolutely true that you can't force people to do anything. I just hope my propaganda is encouraging enough to convince most of them. Absolutely. And I think here it comes to the topic of FOMO, fear of missing out, because when you see others engaging with your content and you see other people doing the selfies and retweeting and exploring the platform, it definitely gives you this push to also go and check out the platform. So this is very true. I think as it can't be forced, but it can be encouraged. Yeah, I love it. We have Robert saying, true life community cannot be forced, it's opt-in. Yeah.
Yeah, if I may to give my definition of engagement at this point, is that how I define it for myself is that engagement when attendee feels to be personally connected on its own terms with you or with your content, with your event, right? So your goal is to provide as many opportunities as possible to engage on the different levels and not the one that you're forcing. Nothing can be forced. It's psychology, right? But you have to give the opportunity, whether it's on social, whether it's within the platform, whether it's before, after, during, doesn't matter. Like I mentioned, we did different types of sessions where we have just pure content and people can ask questions, where we have workshops and people connect for more practical discussions and more closer tete-a-tete discussions if they wish. And then we also had this week a closing session where we actually borrowed people for 1 hour to do a co-creation session with me. I felt a bit guilty because I'm asking them to do something for me, but there is something that people find in sharing and they enjoy it. And one more thing I have to mention in here, because I would like to talk about data, about measurements, and I like measuring how engagement in terms of number of people changes. So I did that last year. and I do it this year. So what I was measuring last year is that how many people register, how many people actually showed up on the platform, and how many people showed more than just attendance sign. That means they reposted something, they were asking questions actively, they participated in something like one-to-ones. So while show up at an event changed, comparing with last year, it dropped because there is tiredness, there's too many events, people getting busy. But the percentage of the engagement stays the same. So it's 10% of those who showed up at your event typically. And that is the percentage I'm looking at all the time. So, okay, 10%, I'm expecting that they would be active, they would be doing something, I would see some action out of them. They would be very personal, if you know what I mean. And that is actually interesting statistics to keep track on.
Yeah, I think there, like every community has the core, which always engaging, and then there is this additional people who are interested just in one topic. So you have to have this variety of topics and then to bring people in, because sometimes it touch people on a very personal level, and you have to touch people personally and talk to them on an emotional level. So community and event, we have a very good question just after this one. So please, everyone watching and interested in the community, stay with us and we'll come to this question. But before, what would you improve for your October's event? So October's event, it's the Freelance Business. It's a 1 month long event. I did last year a week-long event and I found it quite stressful. So how do you do a 1 month event? What would you then improve this year?
Yeah, well, two main things. I would make it lighter because we did a lot really that's maybe not necessary. And I would make it much more clear in terms of what is it, how it is, where to find information. There was obviously as a first time, there were a few things that could be communicated better and we improved a lot. So I will definitely make it much more clear in terms of communication. And another aspect for us to improve is that we had a specific program at the end of the month that was focusing on recruiters and those who are hiring freelancers. So, and that was the weakest point for us last year. And this year, my focus is completely on that one. Luckily, because we have already in flow of the content for the rest of the programs, so there is no worry for that. But the last week of October, with this specific content needs to be developed a bit in more detail. So that is going to be my improvement.
Yeah. And Heidi shares, I still don't know how you manage these month-long events, Elina. That is really impressive. Absolutely, this is very, very impressive. And we definitely need to do a different live about this concept, about month-long events, because I also want to add something. This is very relevant for the virtual environment, because when we think about the live events, which take place only 2 days, 3 days, and you have people there, they are present. But in the virtual environment, you have to address people differently. They might not want to stay the whole day watching your event. But if you have different sessions throughout the months, you are most likely to get their engagement in any point during the months. And that's like a different configuration of the event and not overloading them with just a whole full 2 days of virtual events. So I love this concept. I definitely love this concept. And I would personally love having like 2 or 3 sessions per day instead of 5, 7 sessions throughout the day, because I know I'm not able to attend all of them. So there is huge potential for this concept of 1 month long events. And then Robert shares a documentary on how you do it. Yeah, that would be a great idea. So I hope you have someone filming behind the scenes and you're taking notes, and you can make a documentary out of it. Because you know what, actually, the digital festival, the Event Planners Talk Digital Festival, we had an ebook. And I think you're also working on an ebook, right?
Right. Yeah, we're still busy with Freelance Business book, which is which is a mastermind of all the insights that we have collected last October. So we're definitely launching it, I hope, in the coming weeks. It's been extended effort because I never realized how much time it takes. it's absolutely. But information that's in there is golden. More than 80 people sharing, actually, who are independent professionals of different aspects of the work is absolutely priceless. Yeah, it's coming.
And you have to include the wall with the roadmap. Heidi knows what she's talking about.
Yeah, that one. Yes, it's coming too. Next one, yeah.
Or you can do an event about the event. So yeah, lots of ideas flowing into there. I love it. Good. So let's now go to the community question. So you have 5 events per year, right? And that creates a community because people come in, they sign up into the platform. They just need to sign up once. They don't need to sign up every time, so which is great. And you've created this sense of community, and it's also called Freelance Business Community. For you, what came first, the event for freelancers or the community of the freelancers, and you decided to create an event for them?
Yeah, in my case, it was an event. We started with that. It was 2018, like we mentioned. I was partnering with other freelancers, and I came to them with the suggestion, hey, like, we're independent. Why don't we do something about it? I was in a position when I struggled. It was the first year in my independent business. I didn't know where to find customers, how to promote. Like, I knew nothing about it. Especially being here in Belgium with 3 official languages, different governments, regulations, totally confusing. So we wanted to get together with people to start talking about it and see whether there is a need for like-minded. And there was a need, and that is how it started. It was a small event at the beginning. It grew day by day. But then, online came, which was also part of my passion for a while. I wanted to go out of Belgium. I didn't want to stay as a local event. I always wanted to build a brand of international event for freelancers. And thanks to the crisis, it actually helped me a lot. So that is how it started. So in my case, it was an event first, and then community actually started popping up.
Very interesting. For me, it's the other way around. First came the community and then the event. Yeah, I would love actually to hear those who are watching us right now. Do you create events for your community, or you create your events and your community comes and attends? I would love to share a comment from Naomi, who is joining us today for the live. I love Elina. I was so grateful to have a meeting with Elina and hear her incredible insight. Love the freelance business event earlier this week too. Yeah, I also love this event. I think there was a very good atmosphere there. People were very engaging. People also had their camera on, which I noticed, where also like it's a sign of engagement. Do you have a camera on or do you have your camera off? So yeah, how many people attended the event?
Well, we were close to, I think, 360 registrations. And in attendance, I think we are close to 200 plus minus. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, and now with the return to live, will you keep your events virtual or will you introduce a live component to your community event?
Yeah, we're actually working on a live event, kind of still processing the idea, but definitely there would be one, hopefully in 2022. If with many things that happening right now, fingers crossed that it's going to be a possibility. But we will keep online because it's we're actually surveying attendees whether or not they would prefer to do a live event, and quite a lot of them say online. Like, they don't care about location, they just want to connect and hear others. So we're definitely going to keep, and I think it's going to be a pain if we stop doing that, because we have now 50 countries represented. It's more than Europe. They're coming from Asia, India, US, Africa, all over. And that is the beauty of it. We love hearing how they do things in their parts of the world.
Great. We have a question from Mark. Elina, nice to meet you. Do you use a specific conferencing tool of choice for your events? For example, Zoom, Teams, Hangouts, or do you have a specific hybrid event software tool? What is your best practice on that? That's a great question.
Yeah. Well, we use Swapcard as a platform for our main event platform. And from Swapcard, we actually can use a range of tools. Sometimes we plug pre-recorded videos. Sometimes we use internal Swapcard tools for like roundtables just inside there, but then these are not recorded. But for the session that we prefer to record, we use Zoom. Like super easy, because sometimes you want to do the breakout, sometimes you want to maybe launch a poll, or yeah. So Zoom is the thing.
Okay, yeah, and actually today I asked you also a question: why do you use Zoom and not StreamYard, for example? Can you share it as well?
Yeah, because it's with StreamYard, obviously nicer picture, better layout. You can do branding on it, but then it's just people talking. Okay, questions asked in the chat, you can answer them. But with Zoom, you still have this feeling of a meeting, people together. Even if they disable the camera, you still can address them directly. Can ask where they're coming from while you're waiting for speaker to join. You can have a conversation, and that's what I like about it.
Yeah, you can see people joining as well. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Mark, for the question. Let's go back to the community topic and comment from Heidi. My events are for everyone or private clients. In terms of community, I am more about creating micro tribes. They in turn join in on my events again. The next one you mentioned is going to be absolutely mind-blowing. See you all on Friday. So yeah, this time next Friday, in 2 hours, so it starts at 3 o'clock Central European time, we'll be virtually in Stavanger, Norway, attending the Digital Disruptor event, which will be definitely mind-blowing. So yeah, I'll see you there. And coming to the last question. So if anyone has a question, please let us know in the comments, or of course, contact Elina anytime at your convenience. Last question: what are your tips for virtual community-based events? So we just stayed virtual community-based events.
Virtual. You probably know already my my opinion about virtual as a definition. So now probably quite some people laughing. Well, for me, virtual is not the same as online. So what we do typically, what I do is online event. If I would be doing a virtual event, that would be virtual reality environment. Okay, so that is something that's trying to find an example right now where you would talk and walk as an avatar, maybe use VR glasses. That would be a virtual event for me. So I don't have tips for that one because I'm not a big expert in virtual events.
So let's go back to the online community events. Yeah.
Well, tips for online events. Obviously, there are many, but I think you need to be very precise in terms of your marketing and communications. This is like and removing barriers, and that comes all together, right? Once there is a barrier for person to engage with you on any level, whether it's a registration process or entering your platform or even connecting with you in case of any questions, that's already like you lose the potential attendee. I've noticed lots of marketing effort launched, but without actually thinking who they want to invite to the event, who are the ideal attendee. Sometimes they go too broad, and that just hurts. Like I mentioned already, in our cases, when we were launching specific programs, we were not detailed enough to cater a specific category of writers, for instance, right? And we were very, very generic. So if yeah, well,
yeah, absolutely. I absolutely agree with you on the removing barriers to engagement, because I know from your event, I signed up last year to Swapcard, your event, and this year I was in. It was so easy. It was so smooth. I went to the session that I intended to attend, which I got already on the email reminder, and it just was perfect. So if you don't ask me to register for your 5 events per year, I'm happy. I stay. So I think that's a very, very important message. And I also think that it's like important to stay on the platform where your audience wants to be. This is would be my kind of opinion on this. Like if your audience is on Twitter or Instagram, for example, now I changed. I used to do the Instagram lives. Now I do LinkedIn lives and YouTube lives. Because yeah, the community is there, so it makes really sense then to remove these barriers to engagement, and this is so important. And I think many more event professionals should take this advice.
Yeah. And it's easy, obviously, if you have very flexible mind or your client is willing to accept this new ways or more human marketing. I would put it like this. We have a case. I had a case when I was laughing really when we tried to make it a little bit engaging for people who are submitting the topics, for instance, for the presentation, and we used artificial intelligence tool, the form that actually can capture your name and then communicate with you with your name, like, hi Irina, what is your last name? Hi Irina, what's your job title? Da, da, da. And the client said, why do we need to be so childish? So I was just under the table like, okay, we're trying to be just human, but someone calls it childish. Let's just get rid of the names.
That's interesting, yeah.
And yeah, it depends on the industry a lot. And sometimes it's very difficult to break through and propose something creative. Or something that may work better and resonate with people on the other side.
Yeah, I think when you want to introduce something new or creative, and Robert commented this, Robert Dunsmore shared this tip last time. It's called an experiment. So yeah, call it experiment or a pilot project, and maybe the client will give it a go. Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Elina, for today. It was excellent discussion and packed with value. So if anyone wants to engage with you, connect with you, ask questions, submit a speaking proposal, right? Anything, they can contact you directly via LinkedIn or your Instagram handles, which were shared next to your name, right? Any other way to connect with you?
Yeah, it can be found by Freelance Business all over the place. LinkedIn is what I use on a daily basis, so that's easy to find as well. And yeah, I guess that's it.
Yeah. Okay, so I look forward now to attending your next event, the Freelance Business Month. And definitely afterwards, it will be a great way to learn about your new learnings from the Freelance Business Month. And maybe, who knows, maybe you can make an event from an event. So
Yeah,
a lot of innovation still to happen, and definitely coming from you because you have it. Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Elina. And thank you everyone joining us today.
Have a good day.
Have a good day. Bye.